Looks like the map will be Antiga Shipyard, as HuK gives the okay.
Yeah, ViBe, of course, no longer part of its Gosu. Part of the newly revived Root, who I know someone else who's also en route. He's actually about 15 feet behind me in the opposite direction. It's Rotterdam, by the way.
Rotterdam.
I was waiting for you because Andre's like shaking, nodding his head. So guys, let's introduce our players here in the bottom right. Let's here we go. So we have HuK in the bottom right as the red Protoss from Evil Geniuses. You guys know him. Many love him, many hate him, but regardless what you can say, he's a phenomenal player, and he's doing well in Season 3 thus far. He's currently sitting second place in his division against this guy in the top left. The blue Zerg is ViBe, Danny Sherlong, who just joined Root Gaming. Both players are just wondering if this is the right version of Antiga Shipyards, and of course we care a lot about that, especially because map integrity is very important for StarCraft 2 sustainability.
Yes. And they're talking about the centers and how there is reduced minerals and gas in the centers. And it basically says, hey, if you want to take map control and that center control, then you won't get, you know, that economic advantage as well. There's a lot that goes into that. So you basically get to have your cake and eat it if you take the center of the map. And
it was just too strong.
Yeah, there are particular races that are really good at taking position. Terran and Protoss over Zerg, actually. So Zerg, it's like a ticking time bomb for them. They need to actually bring it down. So it got really silly. At least this will help out a little bit. They can basically say, well, I'll wait until your natural mine's out, and then after that you won't be able to produce and power off that so hard.
Well, look at this from ViBe. He early pulled here, and he's moving out with his Zerglings, trying to see if he can catch HuK's Forge Fast Expand out of position, and that's exactly it. HuK did scout it, and he's trying to prepare accordingly with a cannon in his mineral line. He's going to give up the Forge, though. So at this point, I think ViBe's going to just take his winnings and just go on home as soon as he finds that cannon in his main.
There were a couple of ways to actually respond to this. This wasn't actually a 6-pool, but as you can see, the cannon is already up. Another way you could have done it was actually put a cannon down here and then really try to just situate this, send all your probes over as soon as the first couple of Zerglings come over, and then wait until the photon cannon finishes. As you can see, the photon cannon was just finished as the Zerglings first approached. Think he could have actually saved that and then used his probes. All of a sudden, he has great position to take his expansion. Now, ViBe has all control over his opponent. He knows exactly what he's capable of, which is one-base play.
Yeah, and HuK's getting a second gas. Well, he's trying to get a second gas, and Zerglings are trying to deny it before it's even possible. And HuK's going to cancel second gas, does not want to make it too vulnerable for Zerglings to snipe it. ViBe droning and expanding back at home. This is kind of a reverse scenario where HuK last game denied ViBe's ability to expand, and now HuK's the one that can't really move out of his base just yet. But look at that. Zergling's picking a fantastic position for HuK not to be able to protect his gateway. At least for the time being, Zealot might pop out on time, but even so, Zerglings can just race it to the end.
Yeah, I think he will do that as well. The first Zealot will pop out in time, as you can see, but with good control. Oh, those Zerglings need to be careful. But there he goes. He's just going to target. Very nicely done. Pulling off the weakened Zerglings. Can he actually make it? No, the probes actually pull offline. Yeah. So very well done by HuK.
It's close.
Very nice. Very nice.
And yeah.
Income tab.
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go, Gretorp.
Okay, I was going to say income tab shows 24 to 23 at this point. It was 18 for a little bit. That we expected, but with the double hatchery larva injects, we're going to see ViBe just shoot up in the amount of drones and income. The income is going to be quite substantial. HuK needs to do something from here. He needs to take advantage of his opponent while he is droning. Can he do that, though? That's the question. And I would actually argue, no, he can't. There's no implied pushes from his build at this point. There's nothing that he really forces his opponent to say, hey, I need to make a lot of units. The queens with the 5 range actually help out quite a bit, and all you need is a couple of Zerglings and they can just kite or whatever it is, and the queens just go to town on these Zealots. So it really makes it hard for HuK at this situation. We're going to see the first 2 Zealots come in here, but with good control, I don't think ViBe should be able to, I don't think HuK should be able to do any damage.
Well, HuK's done exactly what he needed to do, though. He forced Zerglings out of ViBe, and with this many Zerglings out, HuK knows that he's already done enough damage here, because this should have been a huge wave of drones. He issued out 12 Zerglings. Should have been 6 drones, and that's already 1/3 of your saturation on a base. So
Definitely.
HuK is just going to sit back on his losses and at this point just expand normally. Now, it's been a while since we've seen a 2-gate expand. In fact, the last time we've seen that was White Raw versus, I want to say Shat. No, it was White Raw versus Targa. And also we've seen Noni try to do this kind of variation.
Yeah.
And of course, it's just for security because 1-gate expand is very, very, very vulnerable to speedling run-bys, especially on Antiga. And so 2-gate's just a little bit more safe, and I like that.
Well, here's the speedlings that are coming in right now, and there are a lot of sentries. Nice force shields are able to block a couple of those Zerglings in. But so many sentries, okay? When you see this many sentries, you know your opponent isn't capable of robotics, capable of something like a Stargate or even Twilight Council. You actually know exactly what your opponent is doing, so you're saying, okay, let me prepare all my drones and then switch over to roaches with some sort of tech. Any tech is good, but let me get some sort of tech, whether it be glial reconstitution, burrow, something of that nature, because you know your opponent has some sort of attack time and they don't actually have to use it, but they have that a little bit later on as the gateway count can potentially get up here. You're not really scared of any immortal pushes, so you're not looking to defend against that. You're not scared of Stargate pushes, you're not looking to defend against that. It's just the gateway pressure you have to defend against, and that's actually very easy to defend.
HuK's going to move out with his Zerglings, his Zealots and his Sentries with a probe. Now, it's very key that HuK keeps his probe trailing the Zealots. A lot of times, Protoss is just kind of keep the probe misrallied and it gets sniped off easily. Look at that. That probe definitely feels like he's from Entourage, man. He's got his posse.
Yeah, man.
Can't be touched.
So well guarded.
Reminds me of the one time LeBron James came to visit San Diego, and it was just he had this like 40 people surrounding him at all times, just couldn't be touched whatsoever. And this probe gets the pylon down very safely. Now, ViBe has a few roaches out in production currently, and +1 will finish very soon, but will HuK strike in time for it? And we may not even find out, as HuK's roaches, or the roaches here, do get in front of the sentries with HuK. And Andre, is this going to be a good engagement for HuK?
No, HuK needs to evacuate from here immediately. I don't think he can continue on with this. Although he is killing a lot of roaches, he doesn't want his sentries to be getting killed like this, because it really gives the opportunity for a counter push. But the sentries go down. The roaches will clean up the remaining one right here, and now it's just Zealot Stalker from here on out. I don't think HuK can really go anything else. And Zealot Stalker against a pretty well saturated 2-base economy, I don't think will do too well.
Well, here's just a couple things to consider. There's only Zerglings really coming out here from ViBe. He's got a few roaches in production. He's got a few out, but he made 26 Zerglings, and he wants to get us around. ViBe also has the advantage in upgrades. He's got +1. HuK doesn't have any upgrades. He didn't go for a forge. He has just pure raw 6 gates. And HuK's sentries, the reinforcing ones, also get picked up without being able to utilize some of their energy as well. So this is lots of warbins from both players, but at the same time, HuK sitting on a good number of Zealots. ViBe very wisely pulling back his Zerglings. Didn't want to engage at this point.
Yeah, and don't forget this third hatchery is always on retainer. It's very easy to start saturating that base after HuK loses all these units. So there it is. The roaches are going to move in a little bit, cleaning out the rest of these units. Another warpin is going to come in, but I don't really think it's going to do much. HuK is going to lose all of his units here, and ViBe is massively ahead. As soon as he saturates that base, he'll have an economic advantage and the army advantage. I mean, where can ViBe go wrong at this point?
Yeah, and HuK is falling back to a robotics, grabbing his 3rd gas, and the biggest, not only the fact that you lose resources, but the biggest downfall of this build, the 6-gate rush from HuK, is the fact that you don't have good follow-up. Your tech is non-existent. You don't have upgrades.
Yeah.
Your flexibility with builds is not very high either, because you invest so much your gas into sentries. And HuK's got a huge order on his plate if he wants to defend against any counterattack here from ViBe.
By the way, I love the choice to get a Baneling's Nest. A lot of people actually wouldn't do that, but think, if you know your opponent really can't get sentries, then Banelings are the perfect solution, because Zealot Stalker is pretty weak to just Zergling Baneling. But it might even look like the Roach Zergling here is going to be enough. Force Field goes down, but it's really not going to be too profitable. There's no artillery at the end or at the back, whether it be Immortals or Stalkers. The robotics facility was trying to be targeted down. They're kind of weird position for that, but as it is, the Zerglings are going to run in here. First Immortal is out. That'll give him a little bit of stability, so very nicely played by HuK.
Yeah.
If
HuK can protect his Immortal, he's trying to run with it, make sure not to get picked off. And HuK, don't lose that Immortal. The Immortal has nowhere else to run, so it just turns around for one last shot before getting picked off. And again, HuK just for a split second losing control of his Immortal, but looks like he has stabilized for the time being. Nonetheless, look at the Harvester difference, Andre. It is staggering.
63 to 40. Look at that income difference. It's just about double. That is such a big advantage for ViBe. Of course, Zergs are normally used to having not that big of an advantage, but an advantage economically. And Vengeful Sax is already completed. You can see a couple of roaches, or 8 roaches to be exact, are in these 2 Overlords. Slowly shuffling on over to the main. Pneumatized Carapace will be completed very soon, but where does HuK go from here? It's really tough. He has to hope his opponent makes a mistake. It's the only way.
Or if he can defend really well against this huge drop play, but there's a couple things to consider. First of all, that HuK, again, doesn't have much upgrades. Normally you would have Blink by this time as Protoss. Hopefully you could be able to rearrange as a result, but without Blink, without things that make you more mobile, Banelings would be incredibly dangerous against it. Another thing to consider is that ViBe also he has good upgrades too for everything, so he's gonna, again, HuK's been fighting at a disadvantage this entire time, and normally we see Protoss the one with the upgrade advantage. HuK sees the army too with his observer, so he knows what's coming. He sees a massive overlords. He has to suspect something's up. Oh yeah, and he does. And he's still making Zealots, unfortunately. That will not help out against Roach circling Baneling. Yeah, and Baneling drops, I should say. But here we go. +2, they should one-shot the workers. And we're going to see the Roaches drop into the main. The cannon does take care of it. The Sentry's trying to force field the forces out, but HuK really doesn't have enough to hold on to onslaughts. The Banelings clean up all the sentries with that light bonus damage, and with that, GG. ViBe takes game number 2 against HuK to tie up the series. Very nicely played by ViBe. Same as last game. You know, there was an early advantage for ViBe. I think HuK, it was still okay to play it from there, but I think his gateway pressure didn't do nearly enough damage as he wanted it to. Now, I do want to say ViBe did react very strongly to that push. I think a better alternative would have been to get that hallucination ASAP, see if your opponent is reacting very, very strong, and just take a Nexus if that happens. And just say, I know I'm still behind from the beginning stages, but at least I can use my sentries defensively and get good position with my force fields, and then I can have great engagements and work myself back into the game just purely efficiently. But, you know, committing to that attack, I think, put him in a bad position. It didn't allow him to force field correct, and it led to, you know, an inefficient engagement. So ViBe takes game number 2 in Antiga. That game was brought to you by Azo, the people who provide monitors for NASL Season 3. Thank you so much, Azo. We'll be back with game 3, the ace match between HuK versus ViBe. Find out who takes it right after this.